Spain can be a great place to invest in property, but for most individuals, buying real estate is a major investment, and therefore it is important to consider all the risks in order to make an informed decision. Especially when buying a property in another country, there may be some hidden aspects you simply cannot know, and therefore here is a list of the 5 most important aspects you need to consider when looking at buying a house or apartment in Spain. Be careful when it comes to love at first sight. There is no doubt that it is easy to fall in love with the dream of having a property in Spain, whether that is a picturesque house in the mountains, an apartment right on the beach, or perhaps a loft in a buzzing neighborhood. Be careful not to romanticize the idea of owning the place to the point where you forget the math. Spanish surroundings are beautiful, and it is easy to end up with the feeling that I have to own this place, but this is typically how you end up overpaying and or missing essential flaws. Try to remember that there are plenty of properties out there for you to fall in love with, and that sometimes you get the best deal when it isn't a 100% love at first sight kind of situation. Spain is a high-tax country, and real estate transactions are no exception. When buying a property, you need to pay transfer tax or VAT if it's a new property. It is also recommended to use a lawyer when purchasing a property, and then you have notary fees come on top of that. All of this typically adds up to at least 10% of the purchasing price, so always remember this sunk cost when budgeting for your purchase. Worth noting is also the yearly property tax, and when eventually selling it, you do need to have a look at the capital gains tax. These taxes and fees are all applicable whether you're a resident in Spain or not, however the amounts can vary. When looking to buy a property, you will most likely come in contact with real estate agents. The thing about Spain is that it is truly the wild, wild west of real estate professionals. What do I mean by this? So in Spain, you do not need a license to work in this field. The market is also dominated by many small independent agents combined with your conventional franchises. Although there are many competent agents with a good knowledge of the market, you cannot really know for sure if that is the case because anybody really can call themselves a real estate agent. There's also a tendency for several agencies or independent agents to have the same listing, making it not always super logical to figure out who represents whom. It is very common to use a real estate agency as a seller, in which case the seller pays a commission to the realtor. If you're a potential buyer, you do not strictly need to use a real estate agent to do the search for you, although this is something that some foreigners still opt to do. Although it can have its advantages, given the problems with finding competent agents and figuring out the individual agent's true interests, you can yourself very easily do the research on properties for sale using sites such as Idealista, Think Spain, and Fotocasa. I will link them all in the description. In many cases, your money will probably be better spent using a lawyer to check the legal status of the sale and property, and unlike with a real estate agent, with a lawyer you know that the individual is trained and educated in the field. It is also very important to acquire and research specific details about the property. This could be the materials used in construction. I recommend to be particularly careful if the property is marketed as a luxury, since this does not necessarily ensure the use of quality and durable materials. When it comes to the running costs of having the property, so to speak, make sure to inquire about the nature and amount of the community fees if it's a complex. And if you're looking at an independent house in the countryside, for example, there is a whole bunch of legal aspects and status of the property that is important to have ideally a lawyer look over. You could end up with a property that doesn't have a residential license or a private road that you yourself need to maintain. In order to make an informed decision and avoid future headaches, be sure to consider all these aspects and more when deciding which property to buy. Last but not least, we need to talk about subletting or using a property as a rental, whether short or long term. If you're a foreigner looking to buy real estate in Spain, there is a good chance you would also be interested in having the option to rent out the property for extra income. Now, when it comes to offering it as a long-term rental, this is relatively straightforward. However, the longer a tenant stays, the more difficult it is to terminate their contract, and if you're unlucky finding a tenant that refuses to move, it is not all that simple to have them vacate the rental rental by force. Now, don't panic, since you most likely won't end up in this situation, but it is important to have in mind and to do proper professional rental contracts, etc. When it comes to short-term renting, such as through Airbnb or an agency, you do need to obtain a license for this purpose. The requirements for this license depends a bit on the region, but if this is something that is important to you, it can be a good idea to inquire about this during the sales process, as you could end up with a property that doesn't qualify. Most importantly, make sure to have a look at several properties and get to know the area before making a decision. Good luck with finding your dream home in Spain, and if you want more advice on how to find the right property, you are very welcome to book a video call with me. There is a link in the description. If you want to help me make more videos, you can hit the subscribe button. And well, then greetings from wonderful Spain, and see you in the next video.